So India bought you a coffee
India bought
during
me a coffee.
during a pageant in which you're representing Pakistan.
Yes. She was very amazing. I had the best time with her, and we're two girls in a foreign country.
Yeah.
We spoke the same language, have a shared culture, so we really formed a sisterhood together.
And did you feel connection between all Pakistanis and Indians who were participating together, or was it just you and her?
I think in the previous years, Pakistani and Indian contestants have always formed some sort of friendship. But
Really?
I think me and Monica this year had a special friendship. A lot of the pageant pages online were like, these two are like siblings.
Nice.
So it was super nice how close I was to her. We ate together many times. There was times we would come together in our rooms and order Indian food or Pakistani food and just sit and eat together and talk in Hindi Urdu. And it was just a sense of home away from home.
So Pakistan and India, friends on a global stage, is what you're telling me.
Yes, we were the best. She was the best.
Are beauty pageants still relevant in the world of social media? And how does a Pakistani participate in a beauty pageant, and what support did she get from her Indian contestant counterparts? Before you check out this episode of Digitales, I want you to subscribe to the channel because we have fantastic content all the time. This episode features Roma Riaz, Miss Universe Pakistan. She was crowned the Miss Universe title as a representative from Pakistan. She didn't win the ultimate Miss Universe competition, but she's going to talk to us about why pageantry is still important for a country like Pakistan. Roma Riaz, how are you today?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I've never sat across anyone or met anyone who has competed in a global beauty pageant. And Miss Universe is one of the biggest, right?
It's the biggest, yeah.
And you were one of 8 participants
Yes.
from Pakistan.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that there was 130 countries that
Yeah.
participated.
In the Miss Universe competition, yeah, it was huge this year.
It was huge this year. And the winner was Mexico.
Yep.
And of the 8 participants from Pakistan, you were chosen to be the representative in Miss Universe.
Yeah, it's a big honor.
How is this beauty pageant world still relevant, in your opinion, in the age of beauty influencers and social media? I mean, is this even a thing anymore? Why is this relevant?
I actually think it's more relevant now with all the things going on social media because it allows us to show an unfiltered and real view of what women look like. Like, when we're on this stage, we're on camera, there's no filters on us. There's no way we can edit. If I stutter, if I fumble a word, if I step something incorrectly, I can't edit that out.
Right.
I think it's so important to show young girls a real view. And I think we've also shifted majorly from just appearances and aesthetics to being patriotic about our country
Right.
and, our social impact and charity work. And all women come in with their advocacy on what they want to make a difference in this world. So I think beauty pageants are actually way more important now when we have such a fake view on social media.
So how does a beauty pageant, you mentioned that in a world of fake everything, social media, you're saying that in a beauty pageant, having women on stage live, representing their culture, ethnicity, their knowledge, their experiences, creates a better a better understanding of a woman from a certain space than social media does?
I think so. It allows us to, like I said, not be filtered. We have to go on and be our real selves. And I think it also puts a lot of focus on our communication skills, our intelligence. People always underestimate that beauty pageants are just about how we look, how good we can walk. But 90% of the judging is based on our closed door interview where there's no cameras, nothing. It's just you and around 8 judges, I think it was this year. And they test you on your knowledge, your political awareness, your intelligence, what impact you make on this world, what charity work you've done previously.
Right.
And I think that is so important to highlight on this platform, where social media influencers may not do that as much.
Right. And you represented Pakistan, and Pakistan has had contestants how many years now?
This is our 3rd year.
Third year.
3rd one to go.
So you were the 3rd one to go. And was this the largest contingent ever from Pakistan, the 8 people that participated?
I think last year's was pretty similar.
Okay.
It's getting bigger and bigger, which I'm really happy to see.
Right.
I'm glad to see girls from Pakistan are taking this step and applying,
Right.
and because we have so much power and beauty
Right.
and intelligence in Pakistani women. So I'm glad that the women are taking this step and applying and are being seen on platforms like this.
So a lot of people will question and say that, you know what, there's other ways for women to represent their force, of being a woman, whether it is through intellect or whether it is through knowledge or creating a business or having charitable impact or political impact. Why should a beauty pageant be the way you create impact as a woman? Why can't it be anything else? And especially in a country like Pakistan, where there is religious and cultural sensitivities on something like this.
Yeah. I think beauty pageants like Miss Universe, because there's such a big platform, like I said, that's the biggest beauty pageant in the world. I think it's very important for Pakistan to be there so the world knows what Pakistan can bring, what Pakistani women are capable of, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions across the world still surrounding Pakistan, our women, our culture. And, you can go on there as the most religious human and they're not going to put any restrictions on you. If I came out and said, I want to wear this or I don't want to wear this, they're not going to object. It's completely my opinion, my choice. And I think that's the most important part, to show the diversity and power of Pakistan. So in the swimwear round, I opted, and I think the previous two Miss Universes have also opted to wear burkinis, because obviously that's very important for the religious and social impact of Pakistan. And for me, I made that choice personally because I wanted every girl in Pakistan to see herself on that stage, to see an element of herself. And I knew if I wore, let's say, a bikini, for example, there was no girl in Pakistan that would think, yeah, that's me. That's something I can do. So I think Miss Universe just gives a huge push and a big way for the world to see. It's the biggest platform. They have so many views and there are so many people from across the world watching. So I think it's a really, really good platform for any country to represent themselves on.
So it puts out a softer image of the country, is what you're saying.
I think it's a good way to show what you want to represent of your country. And I think it's a good way to challenge the misconceptions.
And are they as open to, the organizers, would they be as open to selecting a winner that comes from a culture where there are such sensitivities? Because usually you have winners from countries like the US, which has one of the top winners over time. Yes. You've had a lot of winners from Venezuela, as we were just discussing, and they are representing and displaying sort of beauty in a different way than would someone who comes from, let's say, the Middle East or Pakistan, right? So would a woman from this part of the world ever be able to win when these cultural sensitivities may not be as favorably viewed by the West?
I think that actually doesn't have a role to play in the organization. I think they have a very fair judging system and they would pick based on the caliber of women and what they are bringing to the platform. I think the only issue with countries like Pakistan and the Middle East is we don't have much training yet. We're still very new to this. We haven't learned much to do with pageants. So I think we're still really working on this. And I think that's the only thing holding us back currently. But other than that, I think any woman from the Middle East, any woman from Pakistan is very capable of winning this title. And I would love to see Pakistan win the crown one day.
Training, you mentioned. What training does this require?
So I was actually in the Philippines for 1 full month before I headed into the competition, where they did a lot of walk training, because there's a specific walk in catwalks called a passerella. And
passerella.
Yeah. And it's intense. I don't know how to explain how hard it actually is. And these,
isn't it just putting one foot in front of the other?
Yes, but you have to have your knee bent a certain way, your knee straightened a certain way.
Your walks back like that. In real life, he actually walks like that. You see, this is where the pageant doesn't make sense to me. If you're trying to get someone to represent who they truly are, let them walk the way they walk. Yeah. Why must they walk the way you want them to walk? Because they're not going to walk like that in everyday life.
So I think it comes from the same point of, sports is the only way I ever describe it to anyone. I think this is the same as an Olympic sport. You have to have a perfect form. And I think passerella is just about the perfect form, and it's about dedication, training, and all of that. So training for a Miss Universe pageant, or any pageant for that matter, is actually very intense, You have to do a lot of media training, a lot of question and answer training. But Pakistan is behind in that, because some of these girls are doing pageants from very young ages. So whilst I was in the Philippines, I actually got to learn a lot about Filipino culture and how passionate they are about pageants. They have pageants starting from very young ages. So these girls are in pageants from that small of age. They're training for years. Whereas I was only in the Philippines for 1 month, you know?
So your total training was 1 month?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And you still came out at the top of the of the Pakistan sort of pack.
Yeah. So, I think that's what I say. Pakistan is just a little behind in that aspect. Right. I think if we polished up and we had in-house, in-country training, or even we sponsored a bit more to do in the Philippines, I think I think Pakistan could really flourish.
So in the training, you mentioned the walk, the passerella is one part of it, right? You mentioned media training, appearing, being able to answer questions thoughtfully. That's another part of it. What else is involved in training to participate in Miss Universe?
A lot of mental health support as well. This is obviously a very intense competition. There's a lot of pressure from, you're representing your country. I think you yourself put a lot of pressure on that, and then a lot of pressure comes from media. Right. So it's a lot of mental health training as well to make sure you're mentally and physically strong as well. So a lot of gym, a lot of physical training to make sure you can withstand these long hours, because in the competition we would start sometimes at like 6 a.m. So we're in heels, 7-inch heels from 6 a.m. and we wouldn't take them off sometimes till like 1, 2. And then
till 1, 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Like 18 plus hours.
Yes.
In heels.
Yeah. 7-inch heels. Yeah.
So you need to be in good form.
Good form. You need to be able to withstand that. You need to have a lot of stamina.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, on top of that, your mental health needs to be super strong to withstand.
Why is that? Is there a lot of catfighting and competition?
Oh, no, actually, the competition is incredibly nice. The girls
hear all sorts of stories.
Yeah, I had a very pleasant experience. All the girls were super lovely. The organization was super kind. I actually think a lot of the negativity comes from the media.
Why is that? Why is the media portraying a story that is different from what reality seems?
No, I mean negativity in terms of comments against the candidates. I think the media and audiences online have a lot more to say about the girls' appearances than we are ever made to feel in the competition. I was in the competition for obviously 3 weeks, and not once was I made to feel any different to the other candidates, whereas I actually received a lot of backlash from Pakistani media.
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
How did that make you feel?
I think I went in with a very strong purpose. My purpose was always to represent dark-skinned women in Pakistani media, girls with a normal body type. And I knew that purpose, and I knew I needed to make little girls watching feel safe and comfortable. So when these comments came, it kind of just strengthened my purpose, where I was like, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I actually dealt with that very well, but it was upsetting to see, because I think if any girl had come in with a little less of a support system than I did, or a weaker mind per se, she would have really crumbled under the backlash I received.
What is the harshest comment you remember?
I think the one that upset me the most was that I only won because I was apparently related to a politician, which was factually incorrect. I think somebody just put it into ChatGPT and the surnames matched. So Pakistan kind of ran with that allegation. And that one really, really upset me, because I come from a middle-class Christian family. So everything I have done has been with a lot of hard work. Anything my parents have done has been with a lot of hard work, dedication, and hours put into this. I said in a podcast recently as well that there was times I didn't see my dad for days during my childhood, because he was working back-to-back jobs to create a world where I could do what I wanted to do. I could be educated, I could work and be safe. So that comment hurt the most, because it was kind of undermining the effort I put into this pageant, and then what my parents have done to get me where we are.
If I was to run a sentiment analysis on the people from Pakistan and their view or thoughts around whether Pakistan should have representatives in Miss Universe or Miss World, what do you think the sentiment would say?
I actually think it's quite split. I think a lot of people are very much for it, and they're like, this is what we needed. We needed the world to see, because like I said, I think Miss Universe is a really good platform for the whole world to see you in one go. Like, for a lot of countries, this might be the first time they're seeing a Pakistani woman, because a lot of countries aren't engaging with Pakistani media obviously, I would
Right.
say, because they have no interest in it. They don't understand the language. So they aren't going searching what Pakistani women can do, what Pakistani women look like. So I think a lot of Pakistan does understand the importance of that, and being present on global stages like this, international platforms, even just having Pakistan's name mentioned is a huge thing for a lot of people. Whereas a lot of people also have the opinion of we shouldn't be doing this. So I think it's pretty split. I think most people are for it and they do see the importance of it.
Did you get any support from the government?
No.
Do you think the government should support an initiative like this?
I think the government should support all creative platforms.
What benefit does the government get if it does support initiatives like this one and sends representatives or helps with the training or funds or subsidizes the funding of training or whatever it is?
So I've seen firsthand in the competition the girls that come in with a lot of support from their country, not just from the government, I would say from fashion brands as well. So, for example, India, she comes with a full sponsored wardrobe.
Really?
Yeah.
And the government supports that?
I don't know per se if it's the government or if it's
private and
yes, or if it's just fashion brands stepping up and saying we want to have our piece on the stage, we want to help this girl. So I think it gives a lot of underprivileged girls the chance to compete. Whereas I went in with, I had to buy everything myself.
So you paid for the whole thing yourself?
I paid for...
You had no sponsors?
I had 3 brands that I can name from the top of my head from Pakistan that said, we will send you. And that was after I reached out. So I reached out and I said, look, I'm going here, I'm doing this, and I would love to take Pakistani brands with me. And I had 3 brands that actually agreed. One being my national costume, which was Mohsin Naveed Ranja. And then Kaval Malik sent some gorgeous pieces. The Basam from Pakistan also sent some gorgeous pieces. So I can literally name 3 brands that sent me something. Everything else was myself. And I also had a lot of comments from Pakistanis being like, why are you just wearing like a Hussein Rahar Anarkali when countries like Venezuela are in ball gowns all the time? And they're in these huge outfits that obviously they just got given to them, that were rented to them. And I was like, how do you expect a girl to kind of fork out 2K in pounds for a dress that she's going to wear for a couple of hours just at breakfast? Like, I'm doing what I can do, and with a very minimal support.
So if you were to reach out to all the Pakistani brands, what value, economic value, commercial value, or otherwise, would supporting someone who's competing in Miss Universe in the next round from Pakistan, right, a contestant, what benefit does a brand get in return now that you've been there and you've seen it?
Yeah, I think the global reach is outstanding. The amount of views my profile had, the amount of people watching the Miss Universe competition is incredible. And I think Pakistani fashion can really do well with being represented globally.
Are they mentioned by name when you're on stage or you're discussing, like you're being reviewed, let's say in a certain circumstance, in a ball gown, in a outfit, whatever? Do you mention the brand?
Yeah, if I'm ever asked in media questions, who are you wearing? Because there was this one time, so when we come down from the hotel rooms, the lobby is full with media. It's full with people that want to interview us all. So I came down one time in a sari, and the media loved that. And they asked specifically, who are you wearing? And I was very proud to mention, this is Kaval Malik piece. She sent this to me. And I said a few words about how amazing she is as a woman and how powerful she is, and the importance of this in our culture and what each piece represents, and the jewelry and everything. So a lot of media pick up on this across the world, I say once again, because the media is not obviously from Pakistan. It's a lot of different country medias that come, and they take a lot of interest in the fashion aspect. And then on top of that, Instagram pages pick up good outfits, and they will highlight them and say, this is where this person, this country, this is where Pakistan got her outfit from, this is where Venezuela got her outfit from. So the reach is incredible. I think the brands would do incredibly well, and I just think Pakistani fashion is so incredible, and for that art to be represented to the world would be a dream come true for me.
Start to finish, if I was to assign a value, a cost to participating in this, right? And I'm not saying that you're growing up as a child participating in pageants. I'm saying, like, right now, someone wants to say, after watching this, that, hey, next year I want to participate in Miss Universe. From now till the end of that competition, what do you think is the total cost, burden that they will have to carry? Let's say there's no sponsorships involved. How much does this cost?
I've actually not even begun to do the math calculation for how much I've invested into this, but I'm going to say in the thousands for pounds and dollars.
Would you say it crosses 10,000?
Less than 10,000, I would say.
That's great value for a sponsor. That's how I'm thinking of it, right? So in less than 10,000 pounds, you're putting on an outfit, you're sponsoring someone who's standing on the global stage. And if you are the sole sponsor of that person, you get the entire media coverage, right? Like you get the entire range of clothes, and obviously you can partner up with the contestant and so on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm seriously, the reach with media is insane during the competition. I think I only have around 50,000 followers on Instagram, but during the competition, I was getting around 70 million views on my Instagram page.
Wow. When you started the competition, how did your following on socials change before and after?
I went into the competition with around 18,000 followers on Instagram.
18.
Yes. And I left with nearing 55.
Within 1 month.
Yeah, within the 3 weeks I was there, yes.
And how has it been since? Because it's been, what, over a month? Or close to a month now?
Yeah, coming up to 2 to 3 weeks out of the competition. It's still growing slowly, but obviously, like I said, the reach in the competition, the amount of people watching, the world is watching you at that point. So obviously, that reach is unmatched.
And when you talk about watching, right, the one set of people that are watching that matter the most are the judges.
Yes.
Walk me through how a competition like this is judged, and explain to me what your perception of being judged was before the competition and how it changed after.
I think I went in with a more harsher view on the judging. I was a lot more scared of the judging process, but the judges in the competition are so nice, welcoming, and warm that when I did my closed door interview, I kind of just felt like I was just sharing my story, my purpose,
right,
my thoughts on this world with a close relative. That's how nice the judges were. It was a really smooth interview process for every girl that I spoke to. She came out and said that interview went so well.
What were the judges looking for in that closed door one-on-one interview?
I think we will never truly know what they are specifically looking for, but I think they're just looking for a good person. I think just an all-round good woman that has a good level of intelligence and impact into this world, and she can be a good role model for the girls watching.
So that's the judging component of the personality, and intellect and knowledge and so on. What other components are there to judging?
The passerella. Yes, the passerella. So we do so there's a section called the preliminaries. So that night we do a bikini swim walk, and then we do our evening gown walk. And then on the finals night, when the final cut is done of top 5, they do a swim walk as well. They do a evening gown walk again, and then they do a Q&A in front of the whole audience.
So it is a judge of your persona, your intellect, who you are as a person. Then it is a judgment of you in 2 situations. One is a bikini swim situation, and one is an evening gown situation. And then it is a judge in front of a large audience, right?
Yes, yeah.
Why is the bikini component why is that relevant? Like, why can't you what I don't understand is, from my understanding, judge the person, judge how they present themselves, however they do, right? Women are not walking around in bikinis all day long. And in some cultures, they don't wear that at all, right? They can walk around in whatever. And then how they present themselves to the world. So maybe the 3 components make sense to me. And why does the walk really, really matter? Because if you've got someone who's a great person, who has the ability to create great impact, right? Whether it is through philanthropy or business or whatever it is, right? Or their art. Why does how they walk and what they wear matter? How they show up to the world and how they communicate in front of large audiences, completely get that. Personality test, completely get that. The middle part, I'm unclear on. Walk me and help me understand that better.
Like I said, I think because I think the training process and the perfection you need to get the technique right is the same as training for a sport. And I think pageantry in some sense is very similar to a sport to me. The level of dedication and the hard work and the sacrifices you have to make to succeed in pageantry, to me, is the same as training for any other sport. So
the sport, I'm going to push on that a little bit. In a sport, let's say swimming, right? Or running or golf. If my swing in golf is a certain way and I swing in a certain way, it helps me drive the ball further down, right? if I swim with a certain stroke, or I keep my head in the water for 3 strokes and, I'm rotating my body, it helps me swim faster. This precision in this walk helps how? Like, you're not, like, how does it help in the competition is what I don't
Your
understand.
overall posture is very important on your health in general. So I think that's where they try pushing a good posture, a good representation to the world of how you should present yourself. But overall, I think the dedication and the technique and the hours needed to perfect the passerella are what really make it so impressive to me.
How long does it take to perfect it?
Years.
Years.
Some girls are training for years. It ends up being muscle memory, of course. So in the 1 month that I was training, I was trying to pack years worth of training into this, where I was thinking, oh my God, my knee needs to be this way. My back needs to be this way. I need to keep my head up like this. So I was in the process of thinking about everything at once, whereas girls that have been training for years have the technique down, so they can only focus on, I know how to do this in 7-inch heels, I just have to walk happily.
What do most women who have participated in a competition like this do with, let's say, the fame or the media that this competition brings? Like, and what do you plan to do with this?
So my focus is my advocacy at the moment. I want to do a lot of charity work in Pakistan to improve the literacy rate. A lot of our girls are still held back from education, and often when finances are hard for families, girls are the first to be sacrificed when it comes to education, which, as I completely understand the financial issues. So I really want to work with charities and sponsors in Pakistan to help. I have worked very closely with a charity in Pakistan called TCF. I'm sure you'll have heard of them. They're doing incredible work in Pakistan, and I'm kind of just using my platform right now to amplify their voices and their work. And the long-term goal is to open a charity of my own. And a lot of these girls do go into charity work, making impacts in this world. And for me, another thing that was really important to me was tackling beauty standards. For too long, we have let girls' worth be kind of narrowed down to this one tiny beauty standard of, especially in Pakistan, light skin, a tiny size 0 body and height. And I don't think a woman's worth comes from that. And beauty is so subjective. Everyone can be beautiful in their own way. And the diversity that is available in Pakistan is incredible. And
where do you think that comes in from? Sorry, I'm cutting you. But
no, that's fine.
This beauty standard in Pakistan of light skin, where do you think that originates from?
The colonialism.
And why is it still there? They left about 70 years, 74, 80 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? I've never seen them here. My parents never saw them here, but their parents did.
I think it's very deeply ingrained into our mindsets, and it's going to take a lot of work to shift this mindset. But I'm glad to see over time our generations are getting better at this. Of course, there's still so many people in my generation that also still believe in this light skin mindset, and we've kind of let this fester for too long. Whereas I think this kind of needed to be tackled early on, and we need to treat our young children better. We need to stop telling them things like, don't play out in the sun, you'll get too dark, or use Fair and Lovely because that will brighten your skin. I think that's where the problems are still being nurtured, and this mindset keeps growing because we're not kind of tackling the issue.
And what role do you think brands like the one you mentioned that run advertisements on TV about fair skin, right? Isn't that a constant reminder to the populace that, oh, you know what, you need to have fair skin? Because if they stopped advertising on it, right, eventually you wouldn't be thinking about it. But because you're watching the drama, and in the middle of that, there's a commercial for whitening creams that shows up, and there's a ton of those. Aren't we actually allowing that mindset to perpetuate over time? Shouldn't there be a ban on whitening creams as a product?
I think, yeah, well, whitening creams in general are a huge issue, but I think this mindset festers from not just those adverts. I think the media and the representation we allow in the media allows this mindset to grow further. I never grew up seeing dark-skinned Pakistanis personally in media, so I never saw anyone that looked like me in Pakistani media, and that was the biggest concern for me, that I knew how I felt on some aspect, being constantly told you don't look Pakistani, because the Pakistani girls I've seen in dramas are white, and you absolutely are not white.
Yeah.
So I know how I felt growing up in my childhood, seeing those representation and seeing the comparisons being made from my skin color to what was shown in media. And I know the work it took for me to kind of tackle that and know that I am beautiful the way I am. And thankfully, I had a very loving family that always made me believe that no matter what your skin tone are, you are perfect. I never grew up hearing things like don't play in the sun or use this or change this or do that. So I grew up with quite a healthy mindset, which I think has actually helped me now to be so secure and to know that I have to do this work to help the other girls that do grow up in communities where they'll hear these comments.
You talk about working on education, you talk about working on literacy, but what you just mentioned is about changing the mindset of young Pakistani women, right? About the way they look at themselves and the way they perceive themselves and their place in society. How do you incorporate that thinking and that education, because that is education,
That is, yes,
into a system like you mentioned TCF? How can you create a curriculum? How do you create this education system so that it hits and reaches the women of Pakistan? Have you thought that through?
I have. I would love for any charity or schools to implement a kind of self-love class. I think that would do wonders for our young children. And if we tackle those problems now at a younger age, we can have the next generation grow into stronger and more confident people that are comfortable in their own skin. So I would love to do that work with a charity.
I've slight side note. So I lecture as a guest lecturer. I've been lecturing in one of the colleges here.
Amazing.
And I often ask this question in large rooms of people. Yeah. How many of you have ever been struck by a parent with a shoe? You know, like typical, you see it in dramas, they just fling a shoe at you. And honestly, I asked it as a joke the first time, and I thought that maybe it'll be 10, 20%.
Yeah.
It was more than 70%.
Yeah.
Like there's a large majority of people who have been struck by a shoe by a parent. Then, you know, and this is, I'm talking about like, this is, you know, middle management workplace, like educated people. Mm-hmm. Imagine you go one rung down or two rungs down, what it looks like, right? And the reason I mention that is if a parent is treating a child like that, how does a self-love class actually have impact on that child's thinking? Because if that child is going to go back home and still face that same parent and still be treated the same way, they will never be able to sort of inculcate that feeling of self-love, even though you put that training inside a class. How do you counter that?
Our education and our circle plays a big role in how kids' development kind of grows. We can't kind of think that because they have a bad home life, they shouldn't have any positive teaching to them outside of that. A lot of children look at schools as their safe space, a kind of escape, especially children that come from these homes that, you know, have these unfair treatments. They go to school to become their safe space, to feel comfortable and safe. So these kind of lessons and these programs would still make a huge impact on them. And I'm sure if you speak to any parent, they always say, like, in a jokey way, in a light way, to say that kids listen to their teachers more than they listen to us. And I think that absolutely is true. The kind of institution that the school is, it forces children to pay a lot more importance to what is being taught to them. And teachers obviously come with a lot of training where they know how to tackle a child's mind, whereas parents may not always have that training. They're kind of just parenting you how they got taught. So they treat you the way their parents taught them. It's a rolling cycle of problems, essentially. So I think these schools still have a lot of impact on children's minds, and we can still create these safe spaces, these bubbles of happiness and joy for these children. And I do think they really do implement what schools are teaching them.
And what was it about your parents' parenting style that allowed you to be confident enough to participate in something like this? Because they also are Pakistani parents, right?
Yeah,
they're I would say subcontinental parents. The culture is the same, right? So what was it different? What did they do differently compared to other parents you've seen?
I personally think I have been raised in the most perfect way possible, where my parents taught me a lot about my culture, a lot about our roots, but they also accepted this is the good part of our culture and this is the bad, and we do not have to continue the bad. My parents did not grow up with, like, you know, they weren't doctors, or, you know, they didn't have huge educated jobs. They were just normal people, but they used their emotional intelligence to raise their children so well. And my home was my safe space. I knew there was no judgment from my parents on how I looked, how my skin color was, what my body type was, and they loved me and made me feel like the most beautiful woman on earth all the time. And that kind of
All the time.
all the time. And that grew into our siblings as well. Like I said in the Miss Universe competition as well, that my sisters honestly think that I'm the most beautiful girl to walk this planet. My little brother as well. Like he is, being a boy, a Pakistani boy, he is still so kind with his words. He is so, he compliments us all the time.
So there's no yelling, there's no typical Pakistani
No,
household
of course,
stuff.
every parent yells
Yeah.
and disciplines their children, and that's their duty. But the way my parents disciplined and scolded us was in a healthy manner.
How is it different? Define healthy. Okay, define that. Because there's yelling and screaming, and then there's making up, and then mother-daughter relationship has its own set of dynamics,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So how is it different?
I think, like I said, both of my parents are very emotionally intelligent people.
Right.
They took their parenting skills from their parents, who were also very good. My grandparents were very good parents as well. So I think my parents had a good base to start with. But they're also very emotionally intelligent people to recognize my parents did this and this wasn't correct. I'm sure my parents were hit a lot. That was kind of the norm in their generation. But they knew this doesn't actually help the child understand anything better. Discipline is about telling them this is what's wrong and this is why it's wrong.
Were there consequences when you were stepped out of line?
Of course we were punished with...
What was an example of punishment?
You know, simple things like we weren't allowed to play out. We weren't allowed TV time. We wouldn't get a little sweet treat that evening. And those kind of disciplines and punishments actually have a bigger impact on your child than, I think, hitting them. That just causes fear.
And when did you get a phone or social media?
I was quite late into my childhood, actually. So I was in the UK at this point, and everyone around me got their phones in around year 6, year 7, and they were all on social media. But mum and dad kept us safe for a good time. I think I got my first phone at 13, 14, and it was a hand-me-down from my older sisters.
Right.
Because they were not about to give me a new phone and spoil me like that.
Right. And do you see your siblings wanting to do something similar that you've done?
I think we're all on a different path in life. So my older sister is an accountant. My other sister is a HR manager. And then my younger brother is studying medicine at the moment. So he'll be a doctor very soon, inshallah. And I think we're all on very, very different paths. And truly, I don't think I ever saw this for myself either. I saw Miss Universe Pakistan be launched with Erica Robin, who, you know, changed the world. She made history as the first ever Pakistani Miss Universe Pakistan. And at that point, I was just overjoyed to see Pakistani women on this stage. And I remember keeping up with Erica Robin on Instagram just because I was so excited at the idea of Pakistan there. But I never at that point thought, I want to do this. It wasn't until me and my sisters were sat and we were talking about how dark skin representation is still not the norm in Pakistan. And we're at 2025. And across the world, normal bodies are still not normalized. And we have allowed this beauty standard to fester for too long. And my sister was like, why don't you do Miss Universe Pakistan? That is a huge platform where a lot of young girls are watching. They could really learn from what you want to say. And you being there would be a huge reminder to them that looking like that isn't a bad thing. And we are beautiful the way we are. So that's kind of how the idea of me applying came from.
Why not start a Miss Pakistan pageant?
Start my own.
In Pakistan and create the rules the way you want, whether you want a pastorella or not. You want the perfect embodiment of a Pakistani woman in the way and shape our culture, society is, you know, obviously keeping those nuances in mind.
Yeah.
And obviously about the personality and all of that. Why not start that in Pakistan and show the softer image and show the kind of strong women we have in this country?
Because like I said, the Miss Universe organization provides such a huge reach that I think Pakistan needs that reach at the moment. Right. We need the world to see what Pakistan can do. We need the world to see the creativity in Pakistan with our designers, not just from our women. We have so many amazing male designers in our industry as well. And
You don't think a pageant in Pakistan could work? Like
Yeah,
just the
absolutely.
Pakistan only pageant.
It absolutely could. And we have a lot of pageants in Pakistan that are smaller than Miss Universe. But I think for me, my purpose was always to be on a bigger platform and show the world what Pakistan can do and what women
Right.
shouldn't be put into these boxes. Not just Pakistani women. Body shaming is a huge thing all across the world.
If you were to change one, that's my last question. And if you were to change one thing about the entire pageantry business, what would it be?
I don't know if this would be possible, but I think the media needs to be a lot kinder. But that is entirely impossible to control because audiences jump online and say whatever they want.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, there's a lot of pressure on all of these girls in the competition. And even if you're coming in as a size 0, you fit the perfect beauty standard, let's say, they still get so much negativity online of people being like, well, why is she wearing that? Why does her body look like that? She's too skinny. She's too fat. She looks like a man. I think people online should be so much kinder because at the end of the day, we are just human. I think people assume because we've entered this beauty pageant, we think we're the most beautiful woman to walk on this planet, but that's not the case. We're just going in with our mindsets, our social impact in mind and our purpose. And beauty is actually the least interesting thing about any of the girls I've come across in this pageant because they're also educated. They all have such amazing impacts in this world that their looks are probably the least interesting thing about them. So I just wish the audience would be kinder because we are just humans and we feel every emotion that any other human would.
How were Indian contestants better prepared compared to the Pakistani contestants?
They come in fully prepared. They have their full, like I said, they have their full wardrobes sorted by the organization, by designers in Pakistan. There was even a point where I learned that she had a card with money for her to spend whilst she was in the competition, which I think is so good for girls that don't have the funds to come into this competition.
Right.
There was a point where we were getting coffee and she was like, oh, you're paying for your coffee yourself? And I was like, yeah, like it's my dad's card that I had. And she was like, don't worry, like I'll buy you a coffee because she obviously had the financial support from her country. And I think that was...
So India bought you a coffee
Yep.
during a pageant in which you're representing Pakistan.
Yes. She was very amazing. I had the best time with her. And, like we're two girls in a foreign country.
Yeah.
We spoke the same language, have a shared culture. So we really formed a sisterhood together.
And did you feel connection between all Pakistanis and Indians who were participating together? Or was it just you and her?
I think in the previous years, Pakistani and Indian contestants have always formed some sort of friendship. But I think me and Monica this year had a special friendship. A lot of the pageant pages online were like, these two are like siblings.
Nice.
So it was super nice how close I was to her. We ate together many times. There was times we would come together in our rooms and order Indian food or Pakistani food and just sit and eat together and talk in Hindi Urdu. And it was just a sense of home away from home.
So Pakistan and India, friends on a global stage, is what you're telling me.
Yes. We were the best. She was the best. We were the best of friends during this competition.
Amazing.
She was an amazing support system for me. And likewise.
अगर आप पाकिस्तानी औरतों को एक मैसेज देना चाहेंगी उर्दू में, जो चाहती हैं कि आपकी तरह इस ग्लोबल स्टेज पे आके एक इम्पैक्ट क्रिएट करें, तो क्या मैसेज होगा उनके लिए?
मैं उनको कहूँगी कि हमेशा अपने आप पे बिलीव रखो. आप कुछ भी कर सकते हो. You have the power and the strength inside you. I think पाकिस्तान ने बहुत सालों से हमारी लड़कियों को बोला कि you have to be this perfect way, and that is not true. जैसे आप हो वो वैसे ही perfect हो.
Thank you, Roma. Thank you for taking the time out. I really enjoyed meeting you. I learned so much today, and it's always fun for me. And I wish you all the best. Thank you. And I wish you all the best in your quest to support education wherever we can be helpful. We are here. Thank you for watching Digitales. I really appreciate your feedback, your comments. It keeps me going, gives me the motivation to, and always to find new guests that will entertain you. To do great content, please subscribe to the channel. It allows me to know that you're interested and to get feedback from you through comments. Comments makes everything, so I appreciate you commenting. Keep them coming. I determine the guests based on your comments and feedback, and as well as the style of the show. So I appreciate the comments and the feedback. Thank you.